a few years ago, I was invited to speak at the University of Virginia. And I've always hesitated to give a title in a talk when it's long in advance, because I don't know if I'm going to care about that when the time comes around. So they said, we have to have this brochure published, and it's 2 years from now. So just make up a generic title that would apply to anything. And I said, okay. How about 2 themes that haunt me? Oh, that's great. That's great. So they wrote that down. And then as time came around, 2 years later, they said, what themes are you going to be talking about? Oh, good point. Got to come up with some themes here. And I thought that through, and I was working on the memoir, and I said, seems obvious to me, suffering and grace. Suffering and grace. My first book was a book called Where is God When It Hurts? Then came Disappointment with God. The Question That Never Goes Away, all about pain. The Gift of Pain, I wrote. And then Grace. What's so amazing about Grace is the book I wrote that has sold the most. Discovering grace out of a legalistic, rigid background, that beautiful tone of amazing grace. And so those became the themes of my life and my writing. And frankly, I never had thought about that until I had to come up with the title for this talk. And my wife says, what you've done is write a prequel. And that's true. It's not an essay-like book like most of my other books. It's a narrative. It's a story. It's my story, a memoir. But it explains why I keep circling around and coming back to some of these same issues, mostly centered on suffering and grace. And those are, to me, 2 of the biggest questions we humans will face. Why, if there is a good God, why do so many bad things happen? And then grace. We live in a society in which we're all judged by our behavior, our income, our race, so many ways. What school we went to, what kind of car we drive. And as Jesus' stories show, he just turns everything upside down, and your worth is not determined by your income, by your race, by these other things. The Sermon on the Mount just turns it all upside down. Blessed are the poor, blessed are those who are suffering, blessed are. It's an un-American message, but it's a message that people who are suffering really need and crave. Just the sense that God cares, that there will be a reversal, as Martin Luther King used to say, how long, O Lord, but the arm of the universe, the moral arc of the universe is bent toward justice. And that's a hard thing to believe in an unjust world, but that's what we're asked to believe and to give us hope to endure this world.